Well, it's very early in the morning. I have no natural light, so I may be out of focus. I hope not, but I've got all the light that I can easily summon up. Second year, 49th day, first video. I'm going to speak softly because my wife is sleeping upstairs. The video clips that you're about to see on this Tour d'Europe are of a part of Switzerland called, in French, Le Valais, and in German, Vallis. Where I'm going to stop the clips today are right at the point where French passes over to German, or actually Swiss German, I should say, but German works fine for somebody traveling. Possibly one of the most beautiful places on earth, I think. Back in 1970, I think I made up my, or didn't make up my mind, but I put it in the running. In my mind since then and today, I have in my mind three places that stand out. By this time I had been to Machu Picchu in the summer of 1969, and that I thought was the most beautiful place on earth in terms of natural setting that I'd ever seen or heard of. Well, going into the narrow valley of Valais, the Rhone Valley, where it debouches into the Lake Geneva, I was overcome with that same thought. Well, you'll see the videos. A problem with Le Valais is it is so steep and so deep that you can't, to experience the beauty of it, you have to get up off the valley floor. Well, no, that's not true at all. But to experience how truly different it is, I think you have to get up off the valley floor. Well, as I say in my video clips, it's not that widely traveled, really, by at least American tourists. The English Romantics, back in part one, when I was speaking about Romanticism in England, the English Romantic poets, well, they loved mountains, and they loved waterfalls and rocky crags. And they found out about Switzerland, and this was a favorite place of them, the area around Lake Geneva. And they walked. I don't know if it was Wordsworth or Coleridge, or maybe both, wrote books about walking in that area. I guess you'd call it hiking now. So both of them knew this area well. It just had more than what England had. England had the money at that time, but England has never had that kind of beauty, not even the Lakes districts. Shelley was another one of these romantic poets who knew this area well. In fact, his wife Mary, young wife Mary Shelley, she wrote Frankenstein, while Byron was another one. He was there. They were vacationing there, I think. I'm sure. I don't know exactly everyone that was there, but when she conceived Frankenstein. Later, Charlie Chaplin chose that area to live. It is truly a geographically gorgeous area, I think. It's hard for me to imagine how anyone could say anything else. I have a personal history with it in that I first discovered it in 1970. I rented a car. That was the same time, that was the same trip that I had gone to Lisbon, my second time in Lisbon. My first time was in 1967, I think, in Lisbon. And I could also tell you that I may have been to Europe 13 times, maybe 14 now, 13 I think, and only once did I ever not go to Switzerland, and that was that first time in 1967, after I had discovered Switzerland. This was in a rented car. I always made it a point, if I led a group of students to Europe, to make sure that they saw the Alps. Now, they usually saw the German side of the Alps, the more famous tourist places. About 1990, I went back with my wife, and we went to Switzerland. We rented a car. That was the time that I specifically wanted to see bisses. I had learned about them, and I wanted to see them. I couldn't find them. We drove all the way from Geneva all the way to Innsbruck in Austria, and all the way back. And I really could not find bisses. And that was the reason that when Pierre whom I spoke about yesterday, when Pierre heard about that, and he had said, if you come back to Europe, I'll show you Bisses. And that happened. It was around the year 2000. And this time, oh boy, yes we did. As a matter of fact, that Bis de Rhone, the Bis of Rhone, he had us walk along too, and that was extreme. Dangerous. They were genuinely dangerous. And at one point, and there were quite a few stories about that. My wife, she doesn't like heights, and we were walking on paths this narrow sometimes along cliffs. You really, maybe if you go online and look at these, you'll get some feel that. Well, later on this day, later that day, my daughter and I and a Swiss friend walk along a Bis in northern Germany, upstream at the top of the Rhone Valley, but it was not like the Bis de Rhone. At one point we heard a helicopter, just to give you an example of how extreme it was. And you hear a helicopter, you usually look up, but we couldn't see it. We had to look down. The helicopter was down below us. Now these names I have, Marie, she was a Swiss foreign exchange student, and I don't know her last name. She was from the French-speaking part of Switzerland, so I was fascinated. And I remember, this is years ago, maybe 20 years ago, maybe not quite that much. She came to the farm. I wanted her to come to the farm. She, with my sister. Anyway, she came to the farm, and we walked up on the mountain a little ways here. And I showed her one of my ditches, one of my Bisses, and I said to her, "Is this a Bis?" Because she was right from where they were. And she says, "Yeah. That's a Bis. That's what they look like." And a conversation I had with her two things I remember about her is, one, it was in May, I think, and she was so French and feminine in a way. She was so worried about getting scratches on her legs from the brambles because she was going to prom. I remember that. But the other thing I remember is that I assumed that since Bis ends with an E, it's spelled bis. I assumed in French it would be la bis, une bis. It would be feminine, and so I said une bis. That would, but she corrected me. She says no, it's un bis. It's a masculine word, and we had this funny conversation because I said I could hardly believe it. I said une bis, une. That was kind of the way the conversation went. I thought that's the most peculiar conversation I ever had. And then Katja, I put her name here. She's the first Swiss. I have Swiss friends, and I've been lucky to have some very, very good Swiss friends. Katja was the first Swiss person that I really got to know well. She sang in my choir. She played violin. A foreign exchange student. I later saw her in Switzerland, but I've lost contact with Katja. But she was the first. And then Pierre, I've spoken about him already, and I will mention several more friends I have. So that's kind of a personal history. And I guess that will do for today. I hope you enjoy these clips. I genuinely think that although my camera may not do them justice, I am taking you through one of the most beautiful places on earth. See you next time.